An onryo is the vengeful ghost of a woman. A yurei is a vengeful spirit of a fallen warrior. Kaidan is the different type of monsters that are expressed in the Hyakumonogatari. And kaibutsu is an overall term that encompasses all the different types of demons, monsters, and ghosts that you will hear about today on our show. Our first Japanese J-pasta starts out tonight with a little story called Dangerous Reading Group. It is downloaded from Ni-chan in the Okoruto section. It is a creepy, true-to-life tale. This story may be cursed, so if you are a minor, you should be careful about trying the ritual described. This story takes place during my second year of middle school. It happened during summer vacation. I went to my friend Asuka's house to stay the night, and our friends Shizuko and Chinatsu also came over. Even though we wanted to have fun, we planned on studying and working through summer homework together. Spending the whole night studying would be boring, so I brought along a book of scary stories from Inagawa Junji. I originally brought the book so I could write my impressions about it, but I never actually got around to reading it. When we all arrived at Asuka's house, we went right to work. We didn't understand something, we would ask each other ideas together and come up with answers for the problems. After a few hours, we grew tired of studying and decided to call it quits for the day. I immediately took out my book and began to read stories. Chinatsu, who knew I was bringing the book, thought that reading scary stories on its own would be boring, so she brought a few things to keep the storytelling very interesting. She brought, number 1, 5 candles, 2, a lighter, 3, a piece of paper, a white square to be exact, and 4, white powder, most likely salt. I looked online and found some stuff about warding off evil spirits when telling scary stories, she explained. This kind of creepy thing can be a bit haunting, so that's why I brought this, guys, Shizuko said, pulling her knees to her chest. Do we really need to do this? We're all here together, Asuka said with a smile. We will be fine. Shizuko reluctantly nodded her head and agreed to play along, and Chinatsu quickly set up the ritual. She set up a candle in each corner and drew a torii gate. Now, if you don't know what the torii gate is, it is one of those red gates that you see either at a temple or sometimes at a shrine. They're very bright red and supposed to block out demons from entering our world. Anyway, she brought out what was a picture of a torii gate she drew in red ink in the center of the piece of paper and made a mound of salt on top of the paper before standing and putting the final candle on its mound. She then lit all the candles and turned the lights off before sitting across from me. I took the book into my hand and started from the very first story, reading slowly and deliberately out loud. We were all really into it at first, but around the 4th story we started teasing each other by saying things like, "Oh, I know this story, it's not scary at all." When that got going, Chinatsu started telling the story she read online. It ended with a passerby saying something to the narrator, and Chinatsu played along with that. She said, "That's when I saw somebody coming towards me. As soon as we passed each other, he screamed, 'I'll curse you!'" She made a very scratchy and hard voice when she delivered the last line. At that very moment, the candle behind Shizuko went out. The 3 of us screamed all at once. Before I noticed what was happening, Asuka had thrown herself at me and Chinatsu and held us tightly. Shizuko? Asuka said, barely above a whisper. She was dead silent, her back still facing the candle that went out, and she gazed into the flame that still flickered from the candle in the mound of salt. Shizuko? Shizuko finally raised her face, very slowly. When her eyes met mine, what sounded like a scratching and pounding sounded from the wall behind her. The 3 of us screamed again, and Asuka's parents came barging into the room. The tension in the room was enough for them to call the rest of our parents, and the sleepover was finished. For a long time, my parents refused to let me go out. I was allowed to talk to my friends on the phone, but nothing else. Whenever I thought of Shizuko, I would try to call her. I was never able to get a hold of her, though. Asuka and Chinatsu said that they tried to call her as well, but neither had spoken with her since the sleepover. My parents finally started letting me go outside again. Summer vacation ended and school entrance ceremony was held. I looked everywhere for Shizuko, but she wasn't at school. Once school was let out, Asuka, Chinatsu, and I all went to Shizuko's house. But no matter how many times we rang the doorbell, nobody answered. We finally gave up and decided to go home. When Chinatsu let out a surprised gasp, we turned around and saw her pointing at the window on the second story. But all we saw was a white curtain. It didn't take long for our homeroom teacher to make an announcement. Shizuko had transferred to another school. We asked the teachers and our parents, but nobody would tell us where her new school was. Where did she go? When I reflect on what happened, I realize just how scary a child's curiosity can be. And now that I've finally written all this out, I realize something I hadn't noticed before. The torii gate that we had drawn on that piece of paper was facing Shizuko. The following article is an article from the website rocknews24.com. You can check it out there. The title of the article is Japanese Viewers Spot Real Ghost in TV Broadcast and Get Freaked Out. You can check out the article yourself. I will read the article here verbatim and then link you the video and show the video in this. I've never quite seen the appeal of actual horror films, personally, and I tend to find them mildly distressing, although not in an exciting way like other people do. Well, that's kind of gross, is about the strongest reaction I can muster. I do love Japanese TV, though, and there's no shortage of scary programming here in the summer. Hanto ni atta kawaii hanashi, scary stories that totally actually happened, or Hankoa for short, celebrated 15 years on screen this year with a summer special that went out on the night of August 16th. During the broadcast, something unexpected happened, and viewers took to Twitter to ask the eternal question into the internet ether. Did anyone else just see that, or was it just me? Honkawa consists of dramatizations of spooky true stories, and the bit that freaked other viewers out all over Japan occurred during the segment Yami e no Shikaku, Seeing into the Dark, a creepy little tale about Chihiro Morikawa, a woman with the power to see things that should not be seen. Morikawa, incidentally, is played by Hitomi Kuroki, whose dulcet tones you might recognize as the voice of Hisako in Studio Ghibli's latest When Marnie Was There, if you watched it in Japanese, that is. Anyway, Morikawa asks her coworker, "Hey, Taiko-san, have you ever felt that there's like someone right beside you?" And Taiko tells her, "Not really. Morikawa-san, you're being a bit weird, you know?" While plenty of commenters took to the net waves to declare it's a real ghost, others suggested that the filmmakers had added the face visible only for a few seconds in the mirror behind Taiko-san. They had done it on purposely as some kind of publicity stunt. Others meanwhile claimed that the image could be the reflection of a crew member, in which case he's a lucky guy, getting his face plastered all over the internet without doing anything special, although perhaps he won't be too pleased to discover that people are tweeting pictures of his face with comments like, "So scary, oh my god, the scares." Next up, we have Ghosts on Film. Enjoy! last little segment tonight, we have Bkim Bites. Today on Bkim Bites, we've got two really creepy little tales. We've got first a horror movie called Pet Peeves. Pet Peeves is a very creepy little movie which follows the life of a family dealing with all sorts of haunts. Everything from the eye and mouth ghost to a man who goes through a horrific accident. I don't want to talk too much about the plot, otherwise I give it away, but one thing I do want to say about this movie, it is completely unique in the fact that it actually has a gore factor, which is kind of uncommon for most Japanese horror movies. They tend to deal totally psychologically with those types of scares. This one has the gore scares that mix well with the horrific psychological aspects. I think this is a great film for those of you who put on a little more punch to your movie and a little more gore added into the scene, mixed with those psychological scares as well, so that it's not just all talking and dark, atmospheric. It is also the gore and graphic stuff as well. Last but not least, we've got a game you may not have heard of before. This game is called Twilight Syndrome. It is an old DS game, and it is only out in Japan as far as I know. If there is an American version, or I should say a Western version, please let me know in the comments below. This is a great game about Toshi Densetsu, or urban legends, that are specific to Japan. You play a group of high school students, investigating them, checking them out, and finding out all sorts of horrific things about the history of them, from everything to abandoned train stations to factories. A great little scare of a game if you can get your hands on it. Anyway, that's it for tonight. I hope you enjoyed everything you saw here tonight, and I want to thank everybody who helped out with this episode. Until next time, be ready for the world your parents warned you about. This is Saturday.